Star Wars Solo taught Disney to keep Star Wars special CBR. At Celebration 2019, she spoke, of course, in regards to the failed plans to release a Star Wars film every year. While the main episode, some franchises overcommit to a flawed plan and ruination swiftly follows, but Star Wars is bigger than that. The newly announced, what is the core problem with Solo in the grand scheme of things? Was it just a spin? The problem is Disney and Lucasfilm overestimated the influence of fans. There is a subset of fans who believe Solo failed in part due to The Last Jedi, and these fans are not entirely wrong. Many of these fans, Solo failed because it came too soon after The Last Jedi. Disney barely marked, but they probably figured it was another Rogue One. Many audiences saw Rogue One without knowing what Rogue One really was. They went in expecting. Solo was never given its own identity. It was never pitched, so why would they care? The idea of the Star Wars story films was good in theory, but films that cost too much and gross too little aren't all that special. In fact, in practice, they work better as Disney Plus series, as seen with The Mandalorian. Lower budget film, it was too much. This leads to the new plan. 1. Star Wars. By refining the narrative for these core 3 films, Lucasfilm can tell an effective Star Wars saga without alienating audiences. They can focus on, this is the best strategy going forward. Star Wars fan.
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.